Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So do the Duke Nukem carts work on the original Evercade? In this video we're going to check that out and see if there's any issues. Let's get started. Okay guys, so there's no doubt that these carts are really good. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing through the games. There's certainly been some issues here and there with emulation, maybe some issues with saving, which I've found, and obviously out in the community there's a lot of people reporting some issues here and there. But they work great on the Super Pockets, they work great on the VS, the EXP, that sort of thing. But do they work well on the original Evercade handheld? So that's what we're going to check out in this video. Okay, first up we'll just look at the Duke Nukem Collection 1, which has the Duke Nukem 1 and 2 remastered and Duke Nukem 3D. Certainly when you jump back to the original handheld, you can see a big massive difference in the resolution of the screen. Obviously the viewing angles aren't particularly amazing, as we recall. But anyway, let's see how the games actually perform. Certainly nothing wrong with the sound on this device, this is really cool, but graphically it probably won't be up there with the EXP or the VS. Or even the Super Pocket for that matter.
Let's rock.
See, obviously viewing angles are a little bit tricky to show on the screen here. Let's slow the game in. This one will do. Okay, so the first thing I usually notice is that the saturation is a little bit different on the original handheld, but the main thing is that the games work absolutely fine and sound great. So if you have an original Evercade, these original remasters should work absolutely fine. I have to say this game is absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed playing through it. Very addictive, certainly right up my street. Really love it. Sounds fantastic, plays fantastic, very, very addictive stuff. And the controls are very simple, so that you shouldn't have any issues playing these games on the handheld. And obviously if you want to, you can jump back to the old style, obviously with the jerky graphics and all, and they still work absolutely fine. Or jump back. Yeah, how good does that look? Oh, I'm going to die. So let's jump into Duke Nukem 2. And just like the first one, the graphics just aren't quite the same as the EXP or the VS. I think the saturation is a little bit heavy, and obviously you can tell the resolution just isn't quite the same either. But the most important thing is they play absolutely fine, as you can see. I guess the fact that these games don't really utilise the shoulder buttons, obviously L2 and R2 are missing from here, we only have 2 shoulder buttons. That's absolutely fine because these 2 games don't actually use them. However, that's not the case with Duke Nukem 3D. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so moving on to Duke Nukem 3D Total Meltdown. When I came across this originally, I looked at this and thought, oh, we've got a problem. Right away, this hasn't even been updated for the original Evercade. It's still talking about using L2 as a button, which is basically like a hotkey in the game. Use the L2 and the combination of the other buttons to look up, cycle through your sort of weapons, use the mighty foot, use some of your items that you've picked up, so to speak. But obviously we don't have an L2 button on the original Evercade, only R1 and L1 and R1, or L and R as it says here. So something right away that needs changed. This needs updated. So how does this work in the game? Let's find out. So much like the Super Pocket, the game actually loads a lot quicker than the VS and EXP. I guess, I don't know why, maybe it's to do with the higher resolutions, I'm not entirely sure. But the game does play okay, but what about that L2 button? Something I noticed, it definitely looks a lot darker on here. You can probably barely even see the screen. So the brightness is set up as high as it goes, and it does look a lot darker on here. So the resolution isn't quite as good. But it does sound good and still plays pretty decent. All the buttons are fine. You can even strafe left and right by utilising the shoulder buttons, but what about that L2 button? Why can't we use that? So if we go into, go into the actual controls again, it still talks about L2 being used as the button. However, after messing about, I discovered that the L2 has actually been replaced with the select button. That obviously says it's the map here. Not sure how you use the map. It's definitely the select button that you utilise for the hotkey. So if I hold down select, we can look up and down like so by using the shoulder buttons. And let's see what else we can do. Let's hold the select button down and the Y button. That cycles through the weapons. A little bit awkward to actually control. If we press the B button, I think that will use the items. Press the X, that's the mighty boot. So a little bit awkward how they've done that. Obviously I don't know how to get to the map. That doesn't seem to be a thing on here. There might be a shortcut, I don't know. It's not mentioned in the controls at all. So probably a little bit of an oversight there on behalf of Blaze. They've maybe just not updated the control list on the original Evercade Handheld. Maybe the buttons have all been mapped, we just don't know what the heck they are. We might have discovered the map by complete accident. Maybe it's been mapped to something else, don't know. Maybe it's the A button, nope, start button. Oh, there you go. So the map, if you hold down select and press start, that goes through the map situation there. So obviously the controls have been mapped onto the original Evercade, but there's no mention of it in the controls here. This needs updated, please, Blaze. But I have to say the game does actually play pretty well. I've not really noticed any massive issues that's not occurring in the other systems as well. But it's just a little bit more awkward, I think, to actually play on here than it is on the other systems with the sort of double, shoulder buttons. But I think the game seems to run okay. Okay, let's have a look at the second collection. Hopefully there shouldn't be any issues with this. I don't think these games use L2 and R2 in the XP or VS, so it should be absolutely fine. But let's check, see if there's any issues. Controls all look absolutely fine. Obviously it does use those shoulder buttons to strafe left and right and select weapons, I think, or it's selecting B. Let's have a look. So the game certainly seems okay, I guess. There shouldn't be any massive issues. It should run absolutely fine on the original Evercade. I guess the resolutions just aren't quite the same, but it's not actually too bad on here.
Holy cow.
I don't really think the buttons are as responsive on the original handheld. It seems a bit slow to respond. Maybe it's just me, it just seems a little bit slow. It's not as quick as it really should be for me. Yeah, it definitely seems to be a little bit sluggish, I think. It's not bad, but it doesn't seem quite as good as it is on the EXP or VS. It definitely seems to be a little bit of a delay whilst you're actually playing this. Interesting. Yeah, it does seem pretty slow to turn. Not sure if that's something to do with the settings or what. Oh, let's see. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. That just shows you the controls itself. Anyway, it seems okay. Obviously you can strafe left and right. There's no massive issues with the controls. It just seems to be running just a little bit sluggish for me. Yeah, it seems like turning pretty slowly on this. Anyway, let's have a look at the other games. Okay, so let's go into Land of the Babes and Time to Kill. These games should be pretty similar, I guess. The controls are set up pretty much similar way. Shouldn't have any issues because it doesn't utilise the L2 and R2 buttons, so we shouldn't have any massive issues with controls. But let's have a look at the game running anyway. Interestingly, the games definitely load a lot quicker on the original Evercade, which is bizarre, but anyway, it is what it is. Those viewing angles are horrible though. Okay, so just double checking the controls, L2 and R2 are actually used in the EXP and VS for strafing, so you won't be able to do that in this game. The R1 button is for aiming, which is absolutely fine, and the L2 button is for targets. So everything else is absolutely fine. Hold down the B button and sort of go through your weapons as such. But yeah, so you won't be able to sidestep unless there's some shortcut. I don't know what that would be. Let's see if there's something I can do here. Nope, won't be that. Nope, not entirely sure what that is. So don't think you'll be able to strafe on these versions. Is that going to be a problem whilst you're playing it? I'm not entirely sure. Yes and no. I'm not big at using them myself, but if you are, then that might make the game a wee bit more difficult, I think. Other than that, I think the games play okay. So that's something to be wary of. I guess that'll be exactly the same for time to kill as well. So let's have a look at time to kill. Okay, so it is pretty much the same issues with Land of the Babes. So time to kill plays fine. Sometimes it is a little bit dark, I think. In the darker sections it is hard to see. The viewing angles are obviously pretty bad on this device. So sometimes in the dark sections it is pretty bad. Pretty tough to actually see what you're supposed to be doing. But everything seems okay. The buttons are alright apart from strafing. The sort of performance levels seem fine. Just seems a little bit dark. Obviously the R1 is used for aiming, and the L1 button, I can't remember, that's for walking slowly, but there's no strafing, and that sometimes can be a problem if you want to avoid enemy fire. So I reckon playing this will probably be a lot tougher on the original hardware than it would be playing perhaps on the EXP or the VS because of that. But otherwise it looks okay, performs alright, no massive issues that I can see. The carts obviously play, they're fine, but they have some issues here and there. Not massively major issues, but I would say they definitely don't play as well as they do on the EXP or the VS. They have some issues. Obviously they've made some shortcuts for time to kill and Land of the Babes. And obviously they've done some omissions or some changes to the buttons on 3D, but they've not updated the information on the device. Duke Nukem 1 and 2 play really well, no issues there, but yeah, probably not the best. If you want to get the best out of these games, I would suggest probably upgrading, unless you don't mind sort of putting up with the small issues that I've highlighted in the video. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching, I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.
Laura, is that you?